All right, welcome to the third ever podcast I do. On this podcast, I will be discussing about cars and the future of cars, and also work-life balance with Aaron Palos, also known as Life of Palos. Welcome to the podcast, Aaron. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you are here too with us. Tell us some things about yourself. Some basic information.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So we live out in the Colorado Springs area. I followed my wife out here after she did some military work here. Lived most of my life back in the Midwest in Iowa. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing that for about 15 years. That's been a blast. That's actually how I met my wife too, back in Iowa. And started YouTube. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but now I can't remember off the top of my head. But I want to say we've got at least like 1,200 videos in at this point, so we're still cooking along.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, what was like the video that put yourself out there, on the automotive community map? Like, what made you be Life of Palos?
Well, I think there's probably two videos, but at different times that were sort of important for like boosting my channel out there to different folks. Early on, we only did vlogs. This was before we did any of the automotive news stuff. The biggest video we had back then is I had a Mercedes AMG GTS, and we wrapped it in this horrible blue chrome wrap. I don't know what
Yeah,
I was
I, I
thinking
I
at the time.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we took that out to CarMax. That was like
Yeah,
early
yeah.
on, like I think after Doug DeMuro had done it a couple times. And that was like our first million hit video. That was awesome at the time, but I didn't know what I was doing really. It was like a 5 minute video, super short. But that was like the first big video we ever had. But after that though, like it was just hard to get traction on our vlog content. We didn't have anything unique enough to be super exciting. And then eventually, if you remember like Salamandrin's channel,
Yeah, I do
so
remember him. Yeah.
yeah, so Salamandrin, he basically bought this awesome new Senna, and then I think a week or two after he
Yeah,
bought
like
it,
I
went up
think
into
13,
flames.
14 days. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it,
so
it
we
caught on
did a news
fire. Yeah.
story. Yeah, we did a news story on that, and that I want to say was like at least a 500,000 hits or somewhere around there. And I was like, there's probably something to doing news on the automotive and supercar community because nobody was really doing it well at that time. There were a couple people that had started doing it, but not really any sort of consistency. And unfortunately, I think some of the earlier people that did it with a little bit more of like an opinionated flair, and that made it a little more polarizing for anyone watching. So it was kind of hard to continue on their end. So we tried to do it and be as unbiased as possible moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I remember that incident. It was well, the incident that made me rethink uh, the Senna as a car. When it got out, I was really excited, but then I was kind of like, wow, like imagine spending that much money and then boom, burst into
Yeah,
flames.
it was a
Well,
crazy thing.
yeah, you told me you owned a GTS, an AMG GTS. Well, what cars do you own right now?
So it's funny, we're actually in like a transition period. So we had a McLaren 570 and a Ferrari FF. I just got done selling both of those cars to take advantage of like the crazy used car market. So we made really good money on both of those cars. We have another supercar on order right now that I'm not 100% sure. I haven't told anybody what it is yet. But when I get it in, there's a couple people that have already asked me like if they can buy it from me because I'm waiting, I think, like 5 or 6 months since my order date.
Yeah.
I might take advantage of that, sell it quickly, and then roll it into something else even bigger, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So we might have one or two more other supercars on the way.
Yeah, that would be awesome to see. So basically, you don't have like a supercar. You planning on doing any mods right now or something?
Yeah, unfortunately not. This is the only time I've been without like a supercar in the last like 4 or 5 years. So it's kind of a bummer. We only have like the Ionic 5 and the Raptor for daily driving.
Yeah,
But I'm excited about the cars that we have coming.
yeah. Well, basically, in your experience, what car brand makes like the most reliable yet fun cars though? Like,
This is so it's funny, like I actually loved our McLaren 570, man. I did not have a single problem with that. We got it at about 1,800 miles, about a year and a half used. And then the guy who had it before us didn't drive it at all. We did a bunch of mods on that. We straight piped it. We did like a bunch of carbon pieces and, big obnoxious wing. That car was pretty amazing, and I never had an issue with it from day one. And we think we sold it like 22 or 23,000 miles. I know that's like McLaren sort of have a weird, I guess,
I think after
reputation.
the 720S, all these
Yeah,
like, yeah, I don't
but
know.
the 570 we had was great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like because people like say like McLarens aren't reliable at all, and but yeah, like the 570, and I also like the design of the 570 more than the new McLarens. I don't know, like, and it was like I think it was like the car that got me into McLarens too. Like I don't know, like I like the design so much, and it was great. I think you also like changed your exhaust on that one, right? Like because it
Yeah,
was it was super loud.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. So the company that I work with for all of my exhaust is Voodoo Engineering and Auto Sports. So Voodoo Engineering, my buddy who runs that, Eric, like he's a wizard at exhaust, the highest quality stuff. He also did my straight pipe exhaust on my Ferrari FF, and that had to be the loudest car I've ever heard. It was absolutely nuts. I'm kind of sad that we sold that. But he does incredible work. Whatever next car I get, I'm sure he'll be working on that too. I can't speak highly enough about it. Voodoo Engineering. He's the man.
Yeah, great. So you said you started YouTube around 5 years ago. Like,
I think somewhere in there.
yeah. Well, is like, do you do like YouTube full time or you do other things too? Like, um, yeah,
So I have a lot of passive investments where I used to do like tech stuff before I got into YouTube.
yeah.
But I basically took a lot of that money and like rolled it into a lot of passive investments. So we have a couple other companies on the side. I do some consulting. We have some other stuff that I haven't quite released yet, but I will later this year. And then YouTube, like for day-to-day stuff, probably takes the most amount of time, but it's something I really enjoy.
Yeah, great. So, and you're doing a great job at it too, like, really like you changed the game in automotive news. Like I remember searching and watching like not well made videos, talking about new cars and YouTube channels, and it was not really pleasant. But like with your channel, like people can watch what happens on the automotive world, and it's in one place, and everything is well made. So well done with that.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
yeah. All right. So, like, why did you start YouTube back then? Was it like someone you watched, who inspired you to do so? A friend who got you into YouTube? Why did you start it?
Um, I've always loved the idea of doing like video work as like a profession. I didn't really know much about it though. Like we just sort of like started doing it, and I was like, I bet I could probably try to figure this out over a couple years. And I've always had a love for cars, and I wanted to share that in some way with other people. And that ended up being like automotive and supercar community news more so than vlogs. But I guess really just finding my own niche in that area was like what was some of the best stuff.
Yeah, like I remember that too, like when I started drawing, I remember I used to draw like people, landscapes, cars, but then I just stick to cars. Well, actually, I draw some people too, like Lewis Hamilton, for example.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mainly do cars now, and I stick to that subject for my drawings. Well, like now that you have some experience, what's like a piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to, start doing YouTube or social media videos, like in general?
I think the biggest thing that I would tell others, like other people that are looking to do like YouTube or anything really in the social media space, is just find something that's your own niche. I feel like that's the reason why so many creators have gotten so popular. I think Whistle and Diesel is probably the best example of someone doing this well, like having a brand and a niche that is really just like his own. That's the reason why, when he wants to, he can get 40 million views in a month. Like it's not a big deal. And then there's very few people that can do that. But I think if you try to emulate somebody else's work, eventually, like, you're never going to do it quite as well as they are. So it's better to find your own thing and try to like hammer that into the ground instead.
Yeah, because like on the beginning, like you won't even have like the equipment they have. You won't have
Oh yeah.
like the audience even they have. So like let's say for example, you post about uh, the new Porsche, for example, and that YouTuber you also got inspired from, and you do exactly like he does. He also
Hmm.
posts a video about it. Your video is just not gonna make it to the top, never. So yeah, that's a good piece of advice. All right, let's talk about cars now. And
All right.
all right, what type of cars do you like the most? Like supercars, off-road cars, and why? Like,
I think I've always liked supercars more than anything else. I still like JDM and all that kind of jazz, but I think supercars, Lamborghinis, McLarens, all that kind of stuff has always been like my true love. I like the car that got me into cars was, old school Lamborghini Diablo in yellow. I had a picture of that on my wall as a kid, and it was just like the moment I saw that, I was like, I want to aspire to have something like that someday. So I've always loved supercars. I love what they represent, which is normally pretty hard work and like commitment to a profession to allow you to be able to buy something like that. But I like the way that it makes you feel when you get in and drive it. I love open road driving and have for a long time.
yeah, that's sure. Like, what's your favorite brand? Because you said Lamborghini Diablo, but you owned McLarens
I've
and
never had a Lamborghini,
you
not
never,
yet.
yeah, you never had one. But like, would you like to have one? Like, what's your favorite brand? Like,
Oh, I mean, I'd love to have one. There are some cars that I would like to try to get a hold of. They're a little bit difficult right now, but like a Huracan Technica, I'd love to have one of those. Wait lists are pretty high in that, unless you got in like day one. But I've had a chance to drive a lot of them. I just never owned them. But the McLaren that I had was fantastic. I also work with a pretty good dealership at McLaren of Denver, so I think that's part of it too. If you have a good dealership that you're working with and they do like decent maintenance, it can make your life a little bit easier. I don't know. I'd probably have to say McLaren right now, just because it's the supercar that I've had the most time with. But if I end up loading a Lamborghini in the next couple of years, I might come back with a very different answer.
yeah, like I agree with what you said about the car dealerships because here we have like the closest McLaren dealership is like in Germany and it's like really far away and it would be really inconvenient to own a McLaren or a Ferrari, for example. The closest one is in Istanbul, but here where I live, uh, there are a lot of like Volkswagen and Audi shops, so basically a Lamborghini or a Porsche uh, could be an option. All right. Well, let's. Oh yeah. So yeah, like here, for example, we have like the Audi dealerships and Volkswagen dealerships, so it's easier to own like a Lamborghini and Porsche and keep it running than a McLaren or a Ferrari. Well, in your channel, you talk about new cars like the new Countach, and electric cars in general. Would you ever consider to buy one? And if yes, why? If no, why? Like, yeah.
So, you mean like in the supercar realm
Yeah,
specifically?
probably like
Like,
a
would I ever buy
supercar,
like an
yeah, because you
electric
like supercars
supercar?
in general.
Well, we're trying to get a hold of like the new DeLorean. Like that's what we'd like to buy at some point, depending on what the price point is and whether or not they're gonna. There's a bunch of weird information on that, so hopefully we can get a hold of the new DeLorean. So yeah, I would definitely consider buying one. But I do like a little bit of like noise. Like I don't know if I'd go out and buy like a full EV like supercar as my only thing. I probably want something that had some gas power with it at some point. But hybrid, yeah, I could probably do that. And at some point in the future, most of these car manufacturers are going to have full EVs as most of their offerings. So I think it's just kind of a matter of like it's going to be the only thing you can buy unless you're looking at buying something from yesteryear. So
Yeah, I agree on that. Like I think cars are getting there in general, like the government, like unfortunately, but I think, like we have to figure out a way, and I think Porsche is working on that with the
they
synthetic
are.
fuel. Because, cars like the F1, like even modern supercars like the Ferrari, we have to keep them on the road like years from now. I think that. Well, we also have to keep the planet alive,
For sure.
obviously, to to have roads to get these cars driving. But yeah, well, the situation here in Europe is crazy. We have like forest fires in France, in Spain, here in Greece. We had and like we each every year like we have like massive forest fires here in Greece, and it's really crazy. And well, we need to keep like some nature to enjoy also like the next generations and
I
stuff
think the
like that.
synthetic fuel thing that you mentioned is hopefully that works out, right? Like I know they've been working hard on that for a number of years, and if they can make some good
Yeah.
strides in that area, maybe there won't be such a governmental push toward purely EVs.
Well, yeah, like I think like if they find a way to work out like synthetic fuel and stuff like that, I think it will be even more environmentally friendly than electric cars because I've seen like the batteries because of the lithium and all that stuff like they're pretty harmful to make, and basically combustion engines are better for the environment to make, but then with the gas like they emit the CO2 and all that stuff they end up being
Well,
bad.
battery
But
disposal is also
yeah.
pretty difficult for EVs as well. Like there's not a real fantastic method for battery disposal yet either. So
Yeah. And also, I think like brands like Tesla, for example, well, they're doing a great job. Like they are the ones who put the electric cars on the map, but the quality on them is not very good. So anything that's basically not really well made is not good for the environment because you have to change it all the
sure.
time. So yeah. What are three cars you would love to have in the future? Well, actually, let's make them six, because we're car guys and we like a lot
That's a
of
tough.
cars. So your dream six-car
So are
garage.
we talking like money is no object?
Yeah,
Oh
mine
man,
is no
I probably
object.
have to have Koenigsegg Regera, Agera. Those would, I mean, like a buddy or some buddies of mine, Triple F collection, like they have a Regera, and it's just got to be one of the most beautiful cars I've ever seen. That thing is amazing.
Yeah, and the
I
fastest
know
ones,
that thing
like
is nuts.
yeah.
Probably a McLaren P1, Ferrari Ferrari in there. I mean, like I love the old school Holy Trinity, so like Porsche 918 would be in there as well.
Yeah.
Um, if I was gonna have a Lamborghini in there, that's a tough one. I don't like the SVJ as much as some of the other Aventadors, but I don't know. That's a tough one, man. Like there's so many cars out there, like just limiting it to six is pretty
Yeah.
difficult. But
Well, yeah, I think like the SVJ is too aggressive and track
yeah,
focused. I think like the SV is track focused too, but I don't know like it has a bit more balance for me. I prefer the design of
well,
it.
I think
And
CarWow just did their like Aventador Generations review.
yeah, I
I
saw
think
that
didn't
video.
they say
Yeah,
that like the SV was their favorite out of that entire group for what it was?
probably I don't know. Like it's my favorite Aventador too, and the Murcielago SV too is my
So it's
favorite.
so funny. Like I love the
Uh,
design of the Mercy, but I got a chance to drive one the other day, and I was like, it's like driving like a bus. It's such like an old school. I mean, some people love that, but I don't think I'd ever own one after driving one. But
Well, yeah, even like the cars like the Aventador are, like single
yeah,
clutch. They're pretty hard to drive and not hard. Like it has like a bit like pull when you change the speed. Like I have like been on a passenger seat in an Aventador once, and it like each speed change like you feel it,
some people
and
love that. I get it. I
uh,
totally get it.
yeah, like some people love that, but I don't know, like definitely not a daily car, like the Huracan or the R8 a bit more daily drivable, but the Aventador not at all. Like and like especially like downtown, it's no like it's not a car for you. Like Straman got his Aventador to New York City too, and that thing overheated a lot. So definitely not a daily drivable
But yeah, I
car.
think
I
getting
think
back to like
yeah.
all those cars that I like. So I'd have a bunch of hypercars, and then maybe like some decent version of an R8 for like daily drivable supercar when you're not driving the hypercars, and then I don't know, maybe something like I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything else in that world that I would like. Maybe something off road, like one of the new Raptors or the TRX or something like that.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, basically, I think the new TRX, like the Ram one, I have seen like one in person because we don't have like American
Yeah,
cars here. And like the European cars, like if you see them in comparison with American, they're
I
tiny. And I
know.
saw like one, and it was like to the roof, like it was huge, and a Cadillac Escalade too. I saw this year, it was huge. American cars are huge, like so much bigger, and I think more practical too than European
It's
ones.
funny. I think just like a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, Shmi was driving like a modified. I think it was the Mammoth TRX from Hennessy. I think. Hopefully, I got that right.
That would be
But
even
he was
bigger,
driving that
like
on like the roads around where he lives basically, and that was crazy to watch because there's no room for that truck like anywhere.
yeah, like in Europe we also have like tiny
Yeah,
roads, so it's like you see that like it's like the black sheep
I
in
can't imagine.
like in the crowd, like wow, like that TRX I saw was standard, but it just looked so huge. And also like the V8 Rambo, we don't have that
I
in Europe. And like hearing that, like I think the TRX has a Hellcat engine, so like listening to that engine tone was
It's
like
very different.
it's great. Yeah, it's like we usually have like inline six engines here. Maybe some top of the line AMG models will be V8, but still won't sound as good because like soft limiters
Oh,
and
yeah.
all that
Not a
stuff.
fan of
Like
those.
they all, yeah, they all sound like vacuum cleaners. Yeah. You said like you own some exotics and you also have some in order. What's like an advice you would give to someone who wants to own an exotic car? Would you tell them to rent it? Would you tell them to lease it? Would you tell them to buy it?
I mean, generally, I think I'm not as much of a fan as buying cars out in cash as I used to be. Mostly because your money is tied up and you don't have access to it. I think that like just doing like a traditional loan is normally fine as long as you can get decent rates. But are you talking about like building up the amount of money to buy that, or just like the act of buying?
Well, like also building like the money to buy something like that because most of these cars are really
Sure,
expensive. But like we see companies like the Lotus, they are producing like I think I don't remember like I haven't seen like the final version and price of it, but they were it's more like a sports car, like around
are you talking about
60K.
the
I
Amira?
don't. Yeah, the
Oh yeah,
Emira, yeah, that
that's
one.
super
Yeah,
reasonably priced for what you're getting.
yeah,
Um, in terms of like building up enough money, the biggest thing I normally tell folks that I either work with or whatever, are looking for some advice in
yeah,
the area, is to try to learn marketable skills. I got my degree back in political science years ago. I don't really use that for anything. College is fine, but learning marketable skills has led me and other folks that I know to making much more money than just sort of like typical degree stuff. But
all right. So yeah, like that's great advice and thank you. I hope like the audience likes it. I will also make like some like short videos because that's the new thing on YouTube and everywhere basically right now, shorts, because of
oh sure.
TikTok. So yeah. Well, what do you think about that? Like, do you post like on TikTok? Like, would you ever consider posting short videos
I
like that?
probably should. I have some friends that are really successful on TikTok and have like about 1 million followers there. I do it pretty much full time, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to like shorter content upload, even though I know it's fantastic. I've just sort of been like better suited to do long term stuff, or rather like long form
Yeah.
content. But yeah, TikTok is great. It's probably the easiest way to get viral in any sort of way now. That and like Instagram Reels.
Yeah, well, because you said Instagram Reels, well, Instagram Reels here, actually aren't available. So
Really?
basically, there's no way to grow on Instagram anymore. So basically, when I want to, gain some like other people than my followers to see my stuff, I usually go to
Sure.
TikTok. Well, in comparison, with Instagram, also like not all people who follow you view your stuff because the algorithm is really weird now. So I don't know. It's not really the
They're always
best.
changing stuff.
They made it worse even like right now. Like usually I used to take to with my numbers. I used to have around 300, 400 like likes average, and now it was like 300 likes, and Post Malone's dad reposted it. So
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think they're
yeah,
trying to emulate TikTok in most ways, but it's hurting people that do, strictly like normal posts, or at least the way that Instagram used to be.
yeah. Like I see people like Bill Cole,
Yeah, yeah.
your
Oh, yeah.
friend, like Will Collette, like he has like 20K and like he doesn't get the attention, he deserves because his content is amazing. He also has his
Oh,
R8
yeah.
now,
Will's
and
awesome, by the way. One of the nicest
yeah,
guys.
well, yeah, I know him. Like I used to like talk a lot of him, like especially last year we were talking a lot, and I also drew his back then he owned the Mustang,
Oh, yeah.
the V6, the V6 one. I
Yeah.
think he has the V6 one. Yeah, the Rush. And yeah, I remember I drew that. I think it was around the time I drew your Ferrari FF2.
That sounds correct.
Yeah, it was like pretty cool back then. I think you also guys went to a rally
We did.
together,
We did Longtail Rally
yeah.
together. They've done it twice now, but we did the first one together. Longtail Rally was like the best rally experience I ever had. So,
Yeah, like also like the black drawing here, like the black and white drawing I have with the
yeah.
model is from a
Oh,
photo
nice.
of
I was wondering about that as I was
yeah,
watching. So,
yeah, it's Drew Savola. She's like a
yeah.
friend from Will, and yeah. All right, how do you find balance between your life with your wife and your work life? Do you have like a specific schedule you follow? How do you do that? Because I'm really bad at time
Oh,
management,
yeah. Well,
so yeah.
I could be pretty bad at that too. I try to get out a video right now every other day. Sometimes I take longer breaks in between. I used to do every day for a couple of years, and that was a really aggressive posting style, but it helped me sort of get a decent following in the beginning. But like, now I just try to find like, interesting things that maybe have slipped through the cracks of the automotive and supercar community. Unfortunately, the last couple months has been a lot of really unfortunate news. There have been more like tragic stories in the last like 4 months than pretty much the entire 4 year period before that. Uh, so
Yeah.
that's been kind of rough. But yeah, I mean, like I just try to do my best to find days off and spend time with my wife. She works at home too now, which is kind of great. But yeah, I mean, like I think I have a pretty good work life balance now, but I don't think I had that until I started taking every other day off.
All right, that's well. Thank you for the advice. Because I'm gonna need that. Because I'm terrible at it, and well, I have like a lot of exams coming the next years. So yeah. Well, do you like go to rallies often? Like because we said about I think it was like the Rust rally
Yeah,
you
long
went
tail.
last year. Yeah, do you like going to rallies and
Yeah, I
stuff like
do.
that?
I don't get a chance to do them quite as often as I would like to. I don't like breaking up my schedule for like long periods of time. It's kind of harder to work on the road too. But we do our best. I mean, I still enjoy it, but like I'm very selective about the rallies that I would go on now. Like probably exclusively, I would just go on long tail going forward because I know it's a much more like chill rally, less crazy drivers than like some of the other rallies you might see. But yeah, I love rallies when I can do them.
You told like it was like Rust rally,
Say
right?
again?
Yeah, the rally name,
Oh,
like
long
what was
tail.
it? Like Rust rally? Oh,
Yeah,
long
long
tail.
tail.
All right. For how many miles was it like?
Uh, I want to say it was around like 2000, maybe.
All right. So and then 2000
No, that's like
back
the
or
full
1000
thing was
mile?
2000. I
Oh,
believe. I don't
all
don't
right.
quote me on it, but I think it was around 2000 miles, somewhere in there.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so I'm gonna ask you like some sort not so relevant questions
Sure.
now, and then I'm gonna let you,
No worries.
go. All right. So, so what type of music do you like the most?
Oh, uh, I like a lot of like lo-fi right now, kind of lo-fi, electronica, EDM, that kind of like stuff, kind of like mangled together. I listen to pretty much everything though, except for country. I don't listen to country music at all, but everything else I like a lot. And lo-fi is my music that I listen to when I just want to chill out.
Yeah, I also like to listen to lo-fi when I draw. Who's your favorite
Oh man, I'm
artist,
horrible with
like,
names.
on
I literally like throw it on just Spotify, like different lo-fi lists, and just like have it on repeat in the background. I
playlist?
couldn't even
Yeah.
name anyone really.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm the same with that. Like I couldn't name anyone either. I just have playlists. I like to. Sometimes I might listen to like some jazz or classic music. I don't know, something that, because like I draw for hours. So and having like rap or something like makes my brain
Yep.
hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So what's your favorite movie?
Ooh, favorite like one movie? Oh, that, that's difficult. So I love Marvel movies. I'm like a big like comic book superhero fan for movies. So I love Marvel movies. Um, I like movies like anything that Christopher Nolan does. I like movies like Inception, like Memento. That stuff has always been fantastic. Movies you can think a little bit about. Um, I mean, I like a lot of different movies, and I even like a lot of movies that maybe aren't particularly good, as long as they're a fun like cinematic or movie going experience. But yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan. If I had to like name one director where I like a lot of his movies, he'd be the guy.
All right. So, if you couldn't do what you do for a living right now, and YouTube and all that stuff you named before, what would you do in your life?
Um, I mean, I'd probably have a different style of YouTube. If you want, like, what I would do if I wasn't doing automotive news, I'd probably do like video game vlogging. Like, just like I love video games.
Oh,
Huge fan, have been probably even
all
more
right.
so than cars. But cars is kind of like what worked for our channel, so that's kind of where I stuck.
Yeah.
Other than that, like a profession outside of YouTube, yeah, it's tough, man. I like a lot of different stuff. I probably like do Brazilian jiu-jitsu full time. I've been doing that for 15 years. It's a blast to do. I love teaching. I do it every week now, so I'd probably do that full time.
Yeah. So, you told you like video games, so what type of games do you
I,
like to
I
play the
play
most?
everything,
Like,
man. Like for fighters, I play Tekken 7. I play a lot of like Apex and like Call of Duty whenever it comes out. I probably play Apex a lot more than that. I just got done playing Stray, which is like a fun, weird game where like you play a cat in a non-human like future, which is super weird. Awesome game though, made by like a smaller company, so it's kind of cool to support like weird visions like that. I play everything though.
yeah, like, have you ever like played the Forza
I
games?
have.
Like,
But funny enough, I don't play a lot of like racing games. Of all the games that I play, like I probably play racing games near the bottom of that list. Maybe because I have so much, to do with cars, like for my normal job, that I want to get away from it a little bit when it comes to video games. But
yeah. All right. Like, have you like tried playing like FIFA or
soccer, yeah,
that
yeah,
that stuff?
so you're talking about like soccer games. Not quite as much, but they're okay though. Like every once in a while,
Yeah, I think they're better for when you're like out with your friends and stuff like that. Maybe like if you want to play like
for
two
sure.
player or four player. Yeah. All right. So last question because like we only have like around 1 minute. So where do you like spending most of your money except
Oh,
investments?
not including investments.
Not
Oh,
including
I
investments
love
because
food
yeah.
and travel, man. Like I love to be able to go out and like, take my wife out to a nice dinner. That's probably like my biggest vice is like I love food. So anytime we go to like Vegas, we're trying to go to like, nicer restaurants because I love the experience.
All right. Well, thank you for being on my show. Thank you for your time. It was really an honor to have you
Thanks for having me,
here
man.
and have a great day, I
Yeah,
guess.
man.
And
Much appreciated.
yeah.